Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the academic procession and the Chancellor.
I declare that the 583rd Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning. My name is David Farrar, and I am the Provost and Vice President Academic of McMaster University. This morning, I have the great pleasure of acting as your Master of Ceremonies and of being the first person to welcome you all to today's convocation ceremony. I would like to start by recognizing and acknowledging that we meet today on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and the Haudenosaunee nations, within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. I would also like to take this time to acknowledge some of the leaders joining me on stage today. In the center of the stage is our Chancellor, Dr. Suzanne Labarge. To her right is the President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Patrick Dean. And on her left is the Vice President, University Advancement, Miss Mary Williams, the Associate Vice President, Students and Learning and Dean of Students, Dr. Sean Van Kunit, and Dean of the DeGroote School of Business, Dr. Leonard Waverman. We're also joined on stage by a number of associate deans, directors, chairs, faculty members, and honored guests. Before I start the formal program, may I ask everybody in the hall to check one more time that your electronic devices that may ring or beep are turned off. And I would now like to call on the Chancellor, Dr. Suzanne Labarge, to deliver her welcoming remarks.
Welcome, honored guests, staff, faculty, families, friends, and most importantly, graduands. This is an exciting day for all of you who are graduating today, as well as for all those people who have supported you and stood behind you, and in many cases have had a key role in you being here today. You've achieved a great deal to get here, and you should all be very proud of your success and looking forward to what the future might bring. Congratulations, and enjoy the ceremony.
It's now my pleasure to introduce the Dean of the DeGroote School of Business, Dr. Leonard Waverman, who will make his welcoming remarks.
Good morning, everybody. That's not a DeGroote good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Excellent. So, dear graduates, congratulations. Give yourselves a big hand. And now, an even bigger round of applause for all those who have brought you here today, your loved ones who have been putting up with you for I don't know how many years. And now a cheer for DeGroote. 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 Many of you may not know the story of Michael G. DeGroote, after whom our business school is named. Michael began by shoveling and delivering manure from dairy farms to tobacco fields at the age of 15, with one truck, too young to drive. He was bankrupt at 21 because he expanded too quickly. Excuse me. But at the age of 29, he had paid back all his debts, and he was the largest trucking company in Ontario. That's who our school is named after, and that's what your degree bears that name. 3 quick lessons from that. First, it can be really crappy at the beginning. Second, failure is a learning opportunity if you are resilient. And third, there is no limit to what you can do. How many of you saw the Tony Awards on Sunday night? Next time, they're the Broadway Awards. I was struck by the comments of Ariel Stachel, who won the Best Actor in a Musical for The Band's Visit. He said when he accepted the award, "Your biggest obstacle may turn out to be your purpose in life." Now that's resilience. You, the graduates, are going into a world that appears fraught with danger. AI, artificial intelligence, blockchain. How will you survive all this technology? Always remember that you have deep human skills. That's what we at the DeGroote School of Business and McMaster help develop. Creative problem solving, thinking outside the box, teamwork, communications. We call these the essential skills. You've all heard of Elon Musk, the founder, CEO of Tesla. A couple of months ago, his Tesla 3 factory was not producing very many cars, and those that were coming out were not well manufactured. And so he moved into his factory, slept on the factory floor for 2 months. And a month ago, he said, our problem is excessive automation at Tesla was a mistake. To be precise, humans are underrated. In the world of robots, humans are underrated. Remember, the world needs you, and your HI, human intelligence, beats AI any day of the week. Human intelligence, use these essential skills and your HI, your human intelligence, and you will excel. Congratulations all.
It's now my pleasure to welcome Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, to the podium, who will be presenting the honorary degree recipient.
Chancellor Labarge, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present Nicholas Brathwaite. Born on the tiny island of Cariaco in Grenada, Nicholas Brathwaite completed his undergraduate degree in chemistry at McMaster University in 1982, and then graduate studies at the University of Waterloo. He began his professional career with Intel Corporation, where he specialized in advanced semiconductor assembly and packaging technologies. He holds several patents, and his technologies have played key roles in, for example, the development of low-cost wireless phones. Mr. Brathwaite left Intel to become one of the co-founders and Vice President of Operations and Assembly Technology of N-Chip, a company that developed multi-chip module assembly processes and software solutions for integrating product design with supply chain and manufacturing systems. He also led teams that co-developed several successful products, including PDAs, cell phones, digital cameras, game consoles, and power supplies. When N-Chip was purchased by Flextronics in 1995, Mr. Brathwaite became Chief Technology Officer of that company. In 2007, he retired from Flextronics and became a founding partner of Riverwood Capital, a private equity firm that invests in high-growth technology companies. As a well-regarded corporate leader, Mr. Brathwaite serves on boards of directors in the United States, Brazil, Argentina, China, Japan, and India, with companies including Infi, Northwestern Mutual Insurance Companies, Power Integrations, Photon Dynamics, Arc Micro, Riverwood Solutions, Bright Source, Tessera Technologies, and Aptina Imaging, where he served as chairman and CEO. Mr. Brathwaite and his wife Janice have taken on an ambitious philanthropic mission to use education as a tool to fight poverty and to improve lives. Working primarily through the Petner Foundation, which they created, the Brathwaites have focused their work largely in Grenada, where they have provided financial support for students, helped rebuild homes lost to natural disasters, donated computers for a homework center, and partnered with Grenada's Ministries of Health and Education, as well as New York University's College of Dentistry, to deliver a dental assessment and treatment program to all public school students throughout Grenada and the Sister Isles. The foundation is currently working with McMaster University and the Ministry of Education in Grenada to revitalize T.A. Marichaux Community College. For his technological and business success, as well as his philanthropic and volunteer contributions, Mr. Brathwaite has received the University of the West Indies Vice Chancellor's Award and an Honorary Doctor of Science degree from the same institution. Today, Chancellor Labarge, I present Mr. Brathwaite to you so that you may add to those accolades by conferring upon him this inventor, investor, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and McMaster alumnus, the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Nicholas Brathwaite, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctors of Law, honoris causa, in McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations. I'll get you to sign over here. I would now like to invite Dr. Brathwaite to deliver the Convocation Address.
Thank you very much. Madam Chancellor, President Dean, honored guests, graduates, family and friends. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to address the 2018 graduating class of the DeGroote School of Business of my alma mater, McMaster University. Based on any statistical analysis, I should not be here today. As was mentioned, I was born on a tiny island in the Caribbean called Carriacou. I am the grandson of a man who was an abused child, who stowed away on a boat at the age of 12 and never saw his family again. My parents grew up in poor villages with no electricity and no running water. And so the question is, how does a person who was born in a tiny island with a population of only 7,000 people end up being asked to speak at the convocation of one of the top universities in the world? Well, I'm here not because of where I started, but because of how God has been able to use me to make a difference. Not just in the tech industry, where I've been involved in starting and building businesses, but more importantly, because I've been able to have an impact on the lives of others, especially young people who, through no fault of their own, find themselves in need of a helping hand. I have never sought personal accolades, but I deeply appreciate the fact that the folks at my alma mater have been paying attention and think that my contributions to the tech industry and my commitment to helping others are noteworthy. But it is important to recognize that without the support of many others, I could achieve nothing. No business is created by just one person. No product is developed by one individual. No endeavor or initiative is successful only because of one person. While popular culture like to celebrate the entrepreneur or successful business executive as some heroic Lone Ranger, that image is completely inaccurate. It takes a team, and that team should include people who will encourage, support, and challenge us. We need people on the team who can pull us up when we fall, but we also need people who are not afraid to tell us when we are wrong. If no one is questioning your views or your ideas, you are probably playing it too safe. If the people around you are only pointing out the challenges associated with those ideas, but not the opportunities, you probably need to add some real friends to those virtual Facebook-type friendships that you have. I remember my friend Stephen Peck, who passed away a few years ago. I convinced Stephen Peck several years ago to come out of retirement to help me because I was starting a new business which I hope to build to be $1 billion in 4 years. And Stephen Peck was a tall, imposing person with a deep voice, but he was responsible for me making a lot of decisions that turned out to be pretty good, because he would walk into my office, look me straight in the eye after I had made what I thought was a great decision, and say to me, "Nicholas, you have some really good ideas, but that was not one of them." And then he would tell me what I should have done, and I would just change the decision and did what he said, it would turn out to be great, and everybody would think I did a great job, had great judgment, but all because I allowed others to influence my decisions. Today, you will be granted degrees that are a symbol of your scholastic achievements. Your accomplishments at Mac should allow you to take the next steps of your life's journey with the confidence that you have been well prepared with a solid foundation and you are ready to face the future, no matter what that future may be. The solid foundation of my Canadian education prepared me well and gave me the confidence to take on all of the opportunities as well as the challenges provided throughout my career in Silicon Valley, and you too are well prepared for the road to success. But there are many definitions of success. I urge you to define your success not based on money or fame or fortune, but based on the impact you can have on the lives of others. The world awaits you, but it is not your degree that the world is waiting on. What the world needs is your intellect, your passion, your energy, and your desire and ability to make a difference. Our world is filled with challenges. Most of them you had nothing to do with, but you are inheriting them. But the world needs you to take on and solve these challenges that include such things as global warming, gender imbalance, sexual harassment and abuse, human trafficking, increasingly open racial and ethnic intolerance, insensitive political leaders, corruption, poverty, food and water security issues, the increasing gap between the rich and the poor, the digital divide, and many others. With your solid McMaster educational foundation, with your sense of justice, your desire to see everyone treated fairly, and with the technological tools that are available to you today, you and the rest of your generation are well equipped to lead the world and lead the change that the world desperately needs. I am convinced that if our generation could have done it, we'd have done it already. So we are counting on you to make the difference. Many of you will become leaders. So I urge you to use your leadership positions not to lord over others, but to serve humanity and to do so with integrity and compassion. Because this is the convocation of a business school, and because I am now an investor, I thought it would be unacceptable to give a speech and not use the word capital. So please allow me an extra minute or so to talk about capital, in particular intellectual capital. Please do not subscribe to the thesis that the most important requirement for solving the problems that exist on our planet today is financial capital. Although financial capital is necessary and important, the ability to make a difference is not a function of how much money one has or has access to. It is more a function of how much one cares. As a venture capital investor, I can say with confidence that money usually follows ideas, not the other way around. In fact, my own experience has taught me that in business, as well as in life, the application of the right intellectual capital can often amplify the value of limited financial resources. Again, financial capital is necessary, but the main sources of value creation in business or the main drivers of societal changes are intellectual capital and passion. So as you move into the next stage of your life's journey, do so boldly. You will sometimes face lots of friction in some highly resistant environments. But be confident in your abilities. Be solid in your determination to make a difference. And do not be afraid to tackle the complex, multifaceted problems that others think are too difficult. Because after all, you are Mac graduates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brathwaite. I think he's given those of you that are entering the workforce some very good common sense views, as well as a very broad view of what you can do and what you owe society. But I'm just delighted to be honoring Dr. Brathwaite today. First of all, he is an alumnus, and we're very proud of that. But we actually honored that when he walked across the stage when he got his bachelor's degree. What we're honoring for today is how he's used that, how he's used all his personal resources, his skills, his intelligence, and the education he's received to do what he has done. And we are absolutely delighted to be able to congratulate him and honor him today. Thank you, Dr. Brathwaite.
Dr. Dean will now come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Madam Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates and those in absentia in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit to those before me today and those in absentia to their individual degrees at McMaster University with all of the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to you all. Please be seated.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you to the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, so that each graduate's name may be heard, it would be appreciated if during the presentation of the graduates, you would hold your collective applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Commerce Honors. Abdullah Ali Abda. Paige Aitchison. Blarina Ago. Oh, let me just slow down. Donish Ahmad. Huzaifa Ahmad. Garanjan Ahuja. Tara Alkuderi. Mohammed Al-Nabhan. Sama Al-Sali. Julia Agaratnam. Rumsha Alam. Shobo Ali. Yumna Ali. Thomas Jordan Alkema. Juliana Alvarez Molina. Hashem Alvi. Yumna Amjad. Maggie Ann. Paula Andrea Arango. Mackenzie Arner. Jordan Arzadan. Yasmin Ashgari. Ramiz Bashir Aziz. Arya Azizi. Falashua Ayobami Babalola. Amina Tarek Badr. Gurpreet Badwal. Dustin Dean Baker. Cole Banya. Kasha Banyak. Sarah Banks. Alyssa Berry. Todd Barta. Delcia Basnet. Gurinder Basra. Jasmine Kaur Bassi. Shaylin Betcherby. Amanda Ann Beck. Brian Wayne Beckett. Sharik Baram. Mikhail Samuel Berhan. Nicole Maria Barrios. Michaela Bear. Kushbu Bhatt. Ohima Akua Bonsu Botang. Kimberly Paige Boucher. Emily Frances Ting Boyd. Benjamin John Brandreth. Emil Nathaniel Brill. Taylor Christian Brown. Nicole Jasmine Bugarski. Xiaojie Kai. Michael David Campanolo. Jacqueline Campbell. Mingxi Cao. Julian Carpino. Joseph Savalos. David Cha. Alan Chan. Antoinette Chan. Jessica Chan. Tracy Chan. Michael Chan Singh. Kizzer Channa. Mitchell Charles. Kevin Chow. Priscilla Chow. Amal Fayez Chowdhury. Amardeep Kaur Chima. Enki Chen. Ashley Chen. Hao Chen. Ryan Chen. Emily Chen. Christina Victoria Chin. Jijosh Kushan. Eddie Daniel Cerdello. Jaron Collin. Amelia Corona. Stephen Michael Credico. Adrian Christia. Joseph Lemuel Cruz. Katie Cummings. David Dacuna. Samantha De Silva. Alessandra De Philippis. Marc-Antoine Delanois. Taranjeet Dadwar. Karen Dhaliwal. Rajdeep Dillon. Philip Michael DiLello. Gabriel Diaconu. Steve DeMano. Amelia Dinka. Anya Jogo. Cindy Nok Hun Duan. Nicholas William Donato. Samantha Duty. Austin Duqua. Rajveer Kaur Dosanjh. Aaron Doucette. Sandra Draculic. Chaoping Du. Philip Dearda. Sharif El Sali. Michelle Cassandra Enriquez. Lars Nicholas Aram. Babajid Ahmad Fasina. Shanze Fayez. Zachary Hugo Fenema. Alexander Thomas Ferracuti. Luca Finelli. Kristen Chunking Fong. Alexandra Foote. Candace Renee Andrea Forbes. Nathan Ford. Ziad Furkash. Wandi Fu. Natalie Galvano. Yating Gao. Bushra Ghani. David Giampietro. Natalie Jellerick. Amanjot Singh Gill. Tanveet Gill. Joel Gooden. Jasmine Kelsey Delgatti. Taylor Glenn Grenning. Karanjot Graywall. Shaiwei Guang. Tasneem Havez. Yoel Haile. Mitchell Eric Hamilton. Jason Christopher Hands. Cherry Hannah. Razan Hawa. Ashley Hayes. Yue He. Zheng He. Connor Aaron Heaps. Caitlin Rose Hurd. Wanda Heckrud. Joseph Thomas Heaney. Nicholas Dominic Hines. John David Hlady. Daisy Dick Z. Ho. Janet Ho. Vanessa Ho. Tommy Duong Hang. Kelly Ann Holloway. Jihan Angela Hong. Juitao Hao. Andy Hu. Yiji Huang. Nicholas Pingxing Hung. Sean Michael Hurry. Troy William Rowe Hussey. Ivan Selim Yeshu. Ese Ejevu. Asan Urshad. Yeah, Asan Urshad. Yeah. Salwa Jaffer. Katilia Gemangani. Danielle Jameson. Peter John Jansen. Jean-Claude Michael Jeffrey. Clayton Thomas Jellifo. Stephanie Jennings. Ula Jibrini. Ruyao Jin. Paige Johnson. Bronte Annalise Jones. Cecily Jones. Narmeen Junaid. Vidit Kalia. Francine Athena Kaligrosius. Vaishali Kamlesh Gohil. Sophia Sakina Karmali. Andrew Wayne Karalat. Eric Robert Kay. Thomas Kennel. Mary Josie Karapchich. Misha Khalid. Bakhtar Khan. Haider Khan. Rushika Khanna. Ahmad Mahmood Koder. Thomas Acton Kilby. Jacob King. Roman Klein. Cody Alexander Nerium. Ramina Coma. Lindsay Angela Corticus. Palak Kathari. Natalia Kowalska. Anthony John Krukowski. Jared Ford Capers. Christopher Ryan Lamb. Oliver Long Yi Lamb. Sophie Lamb. Casey Lambert. Jordan Davis Lang. Caitlin Nicole Lascelles. Amy Y. Yun Liu. Jean-Paul Edward Lemaitre. Dylan Lee. Ho Y. Lee. Mitchell Montgomery Jordan Leeson. Kristen Ashley Lefevre. Brooke Lewis. Jining Lee. Lingwei Lee. Yuxi Lee. Yini Liang. Benjamin Marshall Meade Lichty. Sydney Lauren Lim. Kevin James Linger. Monica Liu. Luke Robert Little. Jaedi Liu. Mitchell Lowry. Sophia Liu. Eric Charles Ludwig. Maria Camila Luengas Paez. Christine Liu. Christopher Luxton. Stephanie Lee. Andrea Macuzzi. Asma Mahmood. William Mai. Nabodit Mainali. Japkaran Singh Malhi. Nikita Malhotra. Tanya Mamo. Dana Gabrielle Mengente. Anthony Ivan Marinovich. Patrick Vincent Martinello. Alexander Mumbaya Buzangu. Michelle Binda. Tyler David McConnell. Matthew McCrate. Tosh McAvoy. Heather Taylor McFarlane. Chad McKee. Stephen McMaster. Claire Emily McMullen. Catherine Ellen McNee. Taylor Evans Mertens. Philippe Messina. Jessica Victoria Mickus. Cole Evan Milson. Rabina Mirza. Fuad Mohammed. Liam Thomas Morris. Nicole Lorette Muldoon. James Joseph William Munden. Anna Muscadere. Cody Logan Nason. Barbara Neves. Andrew Robert Newman. Dixon Ng. Rachel Z. Tong Ng. Matthew New. Andrew Huang Nguyen. Joseph Nguyen. Tao Ni. Taehoon Oh. Shelby Susan Orme. Gurpavin Singh Otal. Alana Jeanette Page. Asad Panfani. Erica Faye Pappin. Balpreet Kaur Pasi. Arya Patel. Rijesh Patel. Gajan Giraban Pathmanathan. Florence Ka Y. Pau. Daniel Elid Picacholi. Marina Petius. Yuting Peng. Manjot Phul. Thomas Luke Piper. Monica Popozinski. Megan Porco. Stephanie Erin Posabon. Hang Chi. Ryan Corderone. Jagbinder Singh Ray. Anisha Rajkumar. Sarah Ramneri. Serena Randev. Ashwarya Raval. Dakshan Ravichandra. Morgan Elise Renkema. Alexander Paul Ryazanov. Justin Anthony Ricketts. Sandra Raphael. Ashley Lynn Rumbold. Clark Frederick Russell. Irina Rusu. Lael Saba. Tavish Sanasi. Amajod Sarel. Darina Sevchenko. Robin Sawyer. Carrie Schrader. Marco Sapazzi. Anduina Sertoli. Prav Simran Sethi. Pokit Sethi. Ravina Setia. Candice Sito. Gani Shah. Alan Shalley. Hui Shen. Weiwei Shi. Ilir Shola. Mohammed Shazeb Siddiqui. Herminder Sidhu. Monique Sidhu. Navdeep Singh. Heather Rose Skio. Kevin Daniel Smalley. Tate Snedden. Bernard So. Margaret Solby. Liam Gregory Spadoni. Sarah Spagnoletti. James Spagnuolo. Sasha Srinivas. Paulina Stadnik. Maxwell Murray Stafford. Brandon Christopher Stegmeyer. Danny Sue. Jayu Sun. Jacob Robert Allen Surete. Megan Swirla. Etesham Syed. Jody Tai. Ryan Mitchell Tannison. Como Tenasia. Yingting Tang. Jack Henry Templeton. Aaron Tigelar. Matthew Togmas. Tanner Robert Townsend. Amanda Tran. Kevin Tran. Stephen Tran. Minya Trapara. Anam Tufail. Laura Elizabeth Turkstra. Arabella Trulja. Marcel Van Bylen. Celeste Alida Martha Vandeville. Carly Sue Van Kessel. Matthew Mackenzie Vandenberg. Robert James Vardy. Gurkirat Singh Vasir. Diana Vasquez Cruz. Michaela Dini Verstraeten. Victoria Vetsko. Patricia Vuong. Patrick Vuong. Matthew Alexander Walker. Nicholas Nathan Wan. Jiwei Wang. Junlin Wang. Zhuqing Wang. Yijia Wang. Yunji Wang. Jacob Weatherby. Jessica Lee Whitaker. Brianna Wildeboer. Emily Kathleen Williams. Michael Yuen Sun Wong. Sonia Wong. Jessica Wright. Jiwen Wu. Vivian Wu. Tong Wu. Yao Shao. Miranda Shi. Oops. Miranda Shi. Kevin Shi. Zinger Z. Ayuris Surafas. Bihui Su. Michelle Fang Shu. Mengi Zhu. Karen Zhu. Roger Yang. Jessica Ye. Carolyn Young. Kelly Young. Sarah Yuan. Guokang Yue. Hureya Fatima Zaidi. Chao Zhang. Dang Yu Zhang. Yushu Zhang. Hongren Zhang. Alice Rui Zhou. Yingting Zhou. Noor Zia.
Let's give one more round of applause to all our newest graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce Ms. Blarina Ego, a graduate of the degree Bachelor of Commerce honors, who will be delivering the valedictory address.
Hello, honorary guests, Dr. Suzanne Labarge, Dr. Patrick Dean, Dr. David Farrar, faculty members, staff members, family, and finally, the reason we're all here, graduates. My name is Blarina Ago, or Ina as many of you know me. And even though I look like I should be at my 8th grade graduation, I'm extremely honored and grateful to be standing here representing the 2018 graduating class of the DeGroote School of Business. Thank you to everyone for joining us here today to celebrate all of our achievements over the last few years at DeGroote. Congratulations, we have finally made it. After years of blood, sweat, coffees, tagging each other in memes, MSAFs, and a sometimes smelly in a silent library, we all sit here today with one very expensive yet important piece of paper. Since our first day at DeGroote, we have spent countless hours studying, prepping, recruiting, and mildly complaining, all while building some of the best memories and friendships at a place we all now call home. It was here at DeGroote where we had some of the most memorable experiences through intense intramural sports, slightly forgettable and unforgettable mystery road bus trips and homecomings, multiple DCS formals, and many other events. Through the good group projects and the ones that we were too scared to submit peer evaluations in, we have been there for one another, pushing each other to complete deadlines, as well as being involved and engaged just to make the most of the time we have had as students here. With help from faculty, staff, mentors, peers, friends, family, loved ones, and ourselves, we have had the privilege of becoming some of the luckiest people around the world, not only by being able to study at DeGroote, but also by achieving amazing jobs, running countless successful extracurricular clubs, welcoming and mentoring students year over year, and by participating and winning in multiple case competitions and conferences. I stand here today in front of hundreds of the brightest and best graduates that come from all backgrounds, religions, ethnicities, hopes, and dreams, who are the future of not only the business world, but the world as a whole. From those 3 special words we all want to hear that Rita Costa told us in Commerce 1 EO3, don't be late, to the never-ending CAPSM deadlines, we have finally made it to the light at the end of the tunnel. So what does this all mean? Why does this all matter? Of course, university is key in helping us achieve higher learning, great jobs, and a better future. But what is the importance of education? I want to explain the significance of the last few years at DeGroote and our time as students through one of the most significant memories I have ever had of education. My family and I immigrated to Canada from Albania when I was 4 years old. Despite being somewhat of a hidden gem in our world, Albania, like many other countries, has struggled as a developing country after decades under a communist regime, leaving little to no opportunities for many families to build a future. As I got older, I eventually stopped asking my dad questions like, "Why did you give me a mushroom haircut?" This was a really dark time in my life. Or, "Who is your favorite child?" And to my brother in the audience right now, 1 point for me. And I asked my dad, "Why did we come to Canada?" My dad explained to me that the reason he brought us to Canada was so that my brother and I can have opportunities for a better life by having access to better and more reputable educational institutions, just like the one at McMaster. For a while, I still never understood its relevance or why my family would have left everything they had ever known and had to come to a completely new country just for an education. However, as time passes and life changes, we begin to see the world in a different way. And with that, I saw the importance of why every person and every family in this room has made sacrifices and why they were so worth it. You see, education should be a right to all humans in the world. Yet for us here today, it's a privilege. And for millions worldwide, it continues to be a dream, which unfortunately in many cases is unattainable. In fact, UNESCO, the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, has reported that in 2017, there was 264 million children around the world in developed and developing nations that do not go to school or have access to an education. To put that into perspective and the great fortune we have as we sit here today, that number is equivalent to over 45 times the Canadian population of children 14 and under. That number is equivalent to over 7.5 times the Canadian population as a whole. Yet here we are. This privilege should be used to recognize and understand that education is one of the most powerful tools in the world, and it can be utilized towards serving as the cure for the ignorance that our world faces, as education enlightens humanity by opening the doors to awareness, prosperity, peace, and acceptance. Every single one of us in this room sits together, each person very different from the next in many ways. Yet we have all been brought together to celebrate one very special thing. Everything that we have worked towards has come together, and what seemed impossible at times has now become reality as I stand here and look out at all of you. There is no doubt that our journey has not always been the easiest. I can speak for myself and everyone else that at many times it was easier to take a nap and forget about our problems rather than to continue. Yet, no matter how difficult life became or how long those naps ended up being, we succeeded. But it's not enough to have our story end here, as it is only just beginning. And no matter who we are, the age we are, what we believe in, I encourage you all to continue the journey of education. Maybe it won't be through an institution, but it can happen through our daily lives. I encourage you to educate yourselves through getting to know your peers and colleagues, through speaking to your neighbors, through reading that book that you've been putting off for some time, through asking questions, challenging thoughts, and learning about topics that you've always wondered about. I encourage you to educate yourselves through staying aware on issues that our world has that need to be tackled. People always say we're just one person. We have no power or say to make a difference. Yet change in the world has always come through the perseverance of individuals. I encourage you to appreciate the little things in life, like the free food after a Mars case competition that you might have not actually watched, or snagging an open table in Innis for a group meeting. I encourage you to appreciate the happiness that we have and continue to fight for, as it reminds us of what's to come on days that aren't so bright. I encourage you all to act in kindness, free of judgment, free of hostility, as humanity only progresses through acceptance and equality. But at the same time, be open to dialogue and debating with one another. Most importantly, I encourage you to never give up on yourselves, your dreams, and our hope for a brighter world. Together, we have accomplished one of the greatest milestones that life has to offer. Although our time here at DeGroote as a student may be over, the rest of our lives are only starting. And it is up to each and every one of us to continue to be the positive role models we are, but this time through staying connected as DeGroote alumni. And maybe by doing the world a favor or two by opening up a couple of Willy Dog stands with prices benchmarked to Costco hot dogs. I don't know who said it first, but life can often be seen as a roller coaster, and I am allowed on those in case you're wondering. This ride is always worth it. Make sure that when you get to the end of it, there's nothing that you would change or do differently. To conclude, as author Paulo Coelho wrote in The Alchemist, a story about a boy who goes on a journey to find his personal legend and his meaning in the world. When you want something, all of the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. So don't lose hope. Remember that your dreams are your own, and they're never too big to aim for, and no challenge is too difficult to handle, other than a 12 in policy. Thank you to everyone who has helped us in achieving this huge accomplishment, as well as to the graduating class for persevering. Finally, thank you all for allowing me to represent you here today. It's been an honor getting to be a part of your lives the last few years, and I'm sorry for all the times I didn't use my inside voice, told you jokes that only I found funny, and maybe threw out boiled eggs in the library. Sorry. May all of our futures continue to be as bright, beautiful, and hopeful as our minds. Congratulations, class of 2018. I wish you all of the best in your futures.
Thank you, Ballerina. May I now introduce Tammy Wang, a graduate from the Bachelor of Commerce class of 2005 and a representative of the McMaster Alumni Association. Tammy will now deliver the Alumni Association address.
Man, tough act to follow. Chancellor Labarge, President Dean, very sorry about that. Award winners, honorees, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, guests, and especially the class of 2018, congratulations. I'm also a Mac Commerce grad, and if Convocation could talk, it might tell you that your life is changing. So come take part in this ancient ritual while your parents take pictures of you in borrowed gowns. Crossing the stage marks one of the most significant changes in your life. You are moving from a career as a student to a career as a professional, or from being an undergraduate to being a graduate student, or maybe you're going to trade the goals and routines of university for something more free-form and personal. We all experience the graduation transition in our own way. No doubt, many more transitions are ahead as you move through the stages of your life. What won't change is that your experience earning your degree will always be a part of you, and you will always be a part of this community. At times, that connection will feel strong, and other times, it will take a back seat gracefully to other priorities. But when you do want to turn that lifelong relationship into an activity, a social media connection, volunteering in any one or dozen of other kinds of opportunities, the McMaster Alumni Association will be there for you. That's our job. You can read about your alma mater, your fellow alumni, and classmates in MAC, the news magazine for alumni, either in print or digital, or through our monthly e-newsletter, Maroon Mail. You can be a part of the McMaster alumni communities on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And if you really like sharing news and bragging to your friends about the great things happening at McMaster, join our team of social ambassadors called the Social Marauders. And we'll thank you with some great swag. And if you're staying in the area, I'd encourage you to participate in MAC 10 events. This series of events and services includes career assistance, mentoring, online and in-person networking, and great socials designed specifically for new grads like you. If you find yourself living far away from McMaster, keep an eye out on the events calendar as we do try to make our way around the world from time to time to connect. When you leave here today, I know it's likely that nothing I've said will stick with you, and that's fine. The association has just sent you an email with a fun little quiz reflecting on your university years. When you do the quiz, take a moment and look around our website, alumni.mcmaster.ca, and I'm guessing you'll be surprised at how much is available to you now as a new grad and throughout your life. So whenever it is that you're ready to connect, we'll be here. So, members of the class of 2018, my sincerest congratulations on your convocation. Welcome to the McMaster Alumni Association. Welcome to the family. We are very proud to have you join our ranks. Congratulations.
Thank you, Tammy. I would now like to invite Dr. Dean back to the podium to deliver his presidential address.
Madam Chancellor, Dr. Brathwaite, distinguished colleagues, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. Convocation, one often points out on occasions like this, is a communal event, a calling together of the different members and constituencies of the university family for the purpose of celebrating both individual achievements and our shared vision and mission. In a public institution like McMaster, where the education provided to students is very clearly understood to be both an individual and a social benefit, speakers like myself tend to address themselves to the balance all of you, our graduates, are expected to strike in the lives that you will live beyond today's ceremony. In one form or another, the advice you're typically given is this: seek personal fulfillment and success, but never forget your obligation to serve the greater good. Now, in such a context, you're unlikely to hear anyone celebrating the virtues of ambition, a human attribute our culture on the whole regards with suspicion, because we associate it with selfish, indeed sometimes antisocial attitudes. We talk of someone displaying naked ambition, meaning ambition unmediated, uncontrolled, not linked to a purpose beyond itself. This is the kind of ambition that Shakespeare was thinking about in his play Macbeth, and I expect many of you know the plot of that tragedy. Macbeth is a Scottish general whose ambition is kindled by a group of witches who predict he will one day become King of Scotland. He becomes consumed with ambition, plots to murder the king, and pondering that course of action, utters these famous lines: "I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition, which o'erleaps itself and falls on the other side." Now, my daughter, now in her 30s, has spent her life riding horses, so I'm well trained to identify this as an equestrian metaphor. A rider, properly in control of their horse, pricks the sides of the animal with their spurs to initiate a jump. The point of Macbeth's surprisingly candid observation is that there is no particular goal spurring him on, nothing other than vaulting ambition, or the desire simply to jump, with no regard for the point of doing it. His, in other words, is selfish or uncontrolled ambition, which he acknowledges gets easily out of control. It o'erleaps itself and can end in confusion or disaster, as indeed it did for our unfortunate Scottish pretender, who in one film version at least wound up with his head on a spike as a lesson to others. That's why people are wary of making ambition a theme for convocation speeches. At the same time, though, it is important to acknowledge that ambition in some form must play an important role in the work of universities and the lives of the people who comprise them, whether students, faculty, staff, or alumni. For example, you're all here today celebrating your graduation because you've aspired to achieve this. Each of you knows how much hard work has brought you here. And I hope you're right now experiencing the pleasure of personal ambitions legitimately fulfilled. If you're not quite sure what comes next, that's fine and understandable, and certainly not an indication that your ambition has overleapt itself. The desire for knowledge and enlightenment is always a sufficient spur to action. It is ambition of a very pure and admirable kind. But many of you have greater and more concrete ambitions than this, I know. That is one of the things that make universities such wonderful places to work. While they exist in a sense because of ambition, because of our determination to know and to understand our world, they nourish our imaginations and they fuel our greater aspirations. And by doing that, they prompt us to identify even more challenging goals for ourselves and for our society at large. Universities are places, in other words, in which the innocent and not so innocent ambition of individuals can and should be channeled for the betterment of our society and of our world. In 1918, the British philosopher Bertrand Russell, for whose archives, as some of you may know, McMaster provides a home, was about to be imprisoned for his pacifist activities. Pondering proposed roads to freedom, he wrote this: "While the great majority of men and women in ordinary times pass through life without ever contemplating or criticizing either their own conditions or those of the world at large, a certain percentage, guided by personal ambition, make the effort of thought and will which is necessary to place themselves among the more fortunate members of the community. But very few among these are seriously concerned to secure for all the advantages which they seek for themselves. It is only a few rare and exceptional men and women who have that kind of love toward mankind at large that makes them unable to endure patiently the general mass of evil and suffering, regardless of any relation it may have to their own lives." So in this passage, Russell admirably describes the way in which that always slightly ambivalent thing, personal ambition, is transmogrified in some people into an unambiguous good. As some seek to secure for all the advantages which they seek for themselves, ambition for the self turns into ambition for the good of society. Speaking almost exactly 12 years ago at Northwestern University at an event just like this one, Barack Obama remarked that there is what he called a certain poverty in ambition, ambition for the self, because paradoxically, he said, it asks too little of the self. This is Obama. It is only when you hitch your wagon to something larger than yourself that you realize your true potential. Obama's point was partly that personal ambition is not necessarily incompatible with an altruistic social vision. Indeed, that the latter is frequently an extension or even a fulfillment of the former. All of this is to acknowledge that while our society is nervous about ambition, as well it should be given recent developments on the world stage, humanity will go nowhere without it, and we must continually find positive and constructive ways to stimulate it, to articulate it, and to direct it. As graduates of McMaster, you are the beneficiaries of 130 years of positive ambition. What an effort of thought and will went into the opening of our medical school in 1970, the construction of the McMaster nuclear reactor in 1957, the establishment of the McMaster Museum of Art, the invention on our campus of problem-based learning, the founding of numerous world-class McMaster research institutes, not to mention the science and art of discovery as practiced in labs and classrooms across our campus every day. The Bertrand Russell Archive, which I mentioned a little while ago, is also evidence of the ambitious spirit that seems always to have been at work at McMaster. That the papers of this major British figure would end up in Hamilton, Ontario in 1968 must have seemed unimaginable to most people at the time, particularly those in Britain, except to Dr. Will Reedy, the librarian at McMaster, and to my predecessor, Dr. Harry Thode, both of whom had the highest aspirations for McMaster as a center for scholarship and made it their goal to bring the Bertrand Russell archives here. This year, McMaster has been acknowledged as the most research-intensive university in Canada. For the second year in a row, we are a finalist institution for the Global Teaching Excellence Award offered by the Higher Education Academy and Times Higher Education in London. McMaster rose to 66th place in the academic ranking of world universities and was up 35 places at 78th position in the Times Higher Education World Rankings. Given that there are more than 18,000 universities in the world, that means you are graduating from an institution in the top 0.5% globally. You could not have made it here without ambition, and McMaster could not have achieved that kind of standing without generations of effort, thought, and will, and a determination to pursue and to achieve the highest goals possible. Anyone who has walked across the McMaster campus during the past year will know the goal on which we've most recently focused our ambition, the achievement of a brighter world through education, research, and engagement with our community, whether you define that locally or globally. In many ways, there is nothing new about this as the focus of McMaster's aspirations. Ever since our founding in 1887, the mission of this university has been to serve society by contributing to the advancement and application of cutting-edge science, by deepening our understanding of society and culture, and by fostering and celebrating creativity. Pursuing the highest possible standards in each of those areas is what has brought us to our current standing in Canada and the world. But is the pursuit of excellence in and for itself a sufficient justification for the investment which society makes in institutions like ours? To some extent it is, or must be. But if we go back to that passage from Macbeth, we will remember there are dangers in a self-justifying, vaulting ambition. What was missing in the case of Macbeth's ambition was a spur to prick the intent, a motive, an incentive, a clearly articulated goal. Those brighter world banners everywhere to be seen on our campus today are intended to remind us that all the work that goes on in the university, teaching, learning, research, creation, innovation, is ultimately done in service of a goal. And that goal is the realization of a world that is healthier, happier, more just and equitable, more peaceful, better informed, better at balancing human needs with those of the planet, and richly creative. The university is in it, as they say, for the long haul, because it is obvious that such a goal will not be easily or quickly achieved. Great scientific discoveries take time and patience, as does the work to explore and develop potential applications for such discoveries for positive social benefit. So the pursuit of human and societal health and well-being is a long-term investment. The positive ambition which drives the university is in that sense open-ended. It is an energetic and relentless pursuit of answers to the questions we pose for ourselves and of solutions to the problems that impede human advancement. As graduates of McMaster, you are part of that ambition. Indeed, you're one of the most important ways in which our desire for a brighter world can be realized. Your natural talents, energy, combined with the skills and disciplines acquired during your studies, make you powerful agents for positive change. You must have confidence in that, believing, as Marie Curie wrote, that you are gifted for something and that this thing, at whatever cost, must be attained. My hope is that you will use this power, each in your own way and in your individual lives, in service to a properly ambitious vision for the world you will want to inhabit. And I hope that finding the place in that greater vision for your personal aspirations will bring you great joy and satisfaction. We're immensely proud of you. We wish you well, and we look forward to seeing what you will achieve. Warmest congratulations and all the best. Thank you.
Congratulations to the class of 2018. As a fellow McMaster alumna, I'm looking forward to seeing where all of you go from here. What I find fascinating is today is a day when we talk about your future, and justifiably so. But it's also interesting that I get to attend alumni events. And what always strikes me is how many of the deep friendships were developed while they were at university together. And they come back to the reunions to meet and share what they've done throughout their lives. So as you move forward, which you will all do with hopefully great gusto, I ask you occasionally to look back, as Dr. Brathwaite has done, and remember where you came from. And add, when you have the time or the resources, to add value to help other people obtain some of the opportunities that you've been given. But today is the day to wish you all the best for your future, to hope that your dreams and anticipations come true, and to wish you all the very best. Now, in closing, I have a few final announcements. A reception will be held for graduates and their guests in the Hamilton Convention Center, Wentworth Room C, immediately following the ceremony. Finally, I would ask that you please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. Please join now in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.
And free.